You don't have a family of your own anyway, so it works out. That's what my mother said. At Thanksgiving dinner, in front of my 2 siblings, their spouses, and 5 children, while announcing that I'd be watching all 5 kids over Christmas. She hadn't asked me. She never does. What she didn't know was that I already had a plane ticket in my bag, and I wasn't going to cancel it. By Christmas morning, her perfect family holiday fell apart in ways she never imagined, and the group chat she used to shame me, it became the very thing that silenced her. Before I go on, if this story speaks to you, hit like and subscribe, and drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is there. I'd love to know. I'm Jessica. I'm 27. And this is what happened when I stopped being my family's free babysitter. Now let me take you back to Thanksgiving weekend. The night everything changed. My mother's house sits on a 1/4-acre lot at the end of Sycamore Lane in Millbrook, Virginia. White siding, black shutters, a porch swing that hasn't swung right since 2014. Every holiday, that house smells the same. Roasted turkey, cinnamon sticks simmering on the stove, and the faint burn of something Linda Mercer forgot in the oven because she was too busy directing traffic. That Thanksgiving, all 4 of us were there. Karen, my oldest sister, 35, 3 kids. Derek, my brother, 33, twin 4-year-olds. Their spouses. 5 children under 8, running figure 8s around the dining table. And me, 27, single, sitting in the chair closest to the kitchen because that's where I always end up. Halfway between the family and the cleanup. We were midway through dinner when Mom stood up and clinked her wine glass like she was giving a toast. She smiled at everyone. So, I've been thinking about Christmas. Karen and Brad, you 2 deserve that resort trip you've been talking about. Derek, I know Tina's parents want to see the twins. So here's the plan. She turned to me. Jessica will stay here with the kids, same as every year. I opened my mouth, but Karen was faster. Oh good, she said, sliding her phone across the table toward me. I already printed the allergy list for you. I looked at the printed sheet. Lily's peanut allergy, Ethan's bedtime routine, Noah's eardrops. Laminated, color-coded, like a manual for a new employee. I looked around the table. Derek was cutting his turkey. Brad was pouring more wine. Tina was studying her plate. Nobody flinched. Nobody said, "Wait, did anyone ask Jessica?" So I said it myself. Actually, I have plans this Christmas. Every knife and fork at that table went still. And then my mother said the thing I will never unhear. Plans? What plans? You don't have a family of your own anyway, so it works out. I didn't say anything after that. Not at the table. I just finished my mashed potatoes while the conversation moved on like nothing had happened, because to them, nothing had. The kids went to bed around 8. Karen and Brad took the guest room. Derek and Tina left for their hotel. I grabbed my coat and headed for the front door. Mom caught me in the kitchen. She was loading the dishwasher, which she always does when she wants to have a conversation she can pretend isn't a confrontation. Hands busy, eyes down, voice casual. Jessica, I don't understand what the fuss is about. I told her the truth. I said I'd booked a flight. I'd been planning this for months. I'd already gotten the time off from the clinic. She turned around and looked at me like I'd told her I was joining a cult. A plane ticket. For what? Some beach? She shook her head. You're being dramatic, Jessica. It's just a few days with the kids. It's not like I'm asking you to move a mountain. You didn't ask me at all, Mom. I shouldn't have to ask. That's what family does. From the living room, Karen's voice floated in. Honestly, Jess, I would do the same for you if you had kids. It's what sisters do. I looked back at the kitchen. Derek's chair was empty. He'd already left without a word. I said goodnight. I walked out. The screen door clapped shut behind me and the November air hit my face like cold water. I sat in my car for a full minute before turning the key. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, not from sadness. From the slow, sickening recognition that not a single person in that house had asked me what I wanted. Not once. Not in years. I drove home. I opened my phone. The plane ticket was still there in the app. Outer Banks, December 23rd. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't cancel it. My apartment is a studio above a hardware store on Main Street. 480 square feet. One window that faces the parking lot. A radiator that clangs at 2 a.m. like someone knocking. But it's mine. On the fridge, I had a printout of my approved time-off request from the clinic. December 22nd through the 28th. Signed by Dr. Nguyen 2 months ago. Next to it, a small notebook with a handwritten ledger I'd been keeping since June. 6 months of numbers. Every extra night shift. Every overtime hour. Every home-cooked meal instead of takeout. Every morning I made coffee in my own kitchen instead of stopping at the drive-thru. Every small sacrifice, tallied in blue ink. The total at the bottom of the last page. $2,340. That was my Outer Banks fund. My first real vacation since a high school field trip to Williamsburg when I was 16. 11 years ago. Megan and I had split an Airbnb, a little cottage 2 blocks from the beach. I'd looked at the photos so many times the listing was burned into my memory. White curtains. A porch with 2 rocking chairs. The sound of waves close enough to hear through the screen door. I called Megan. She picked up on the second ring. I told her everything. The announcement, the allergy list, the laminated schedule, the line about not having a family of my own. Megan was quiet for a few seconds. Then she asked me something that cracked the whole thing open. Jess, when was the last time your mom asked you what you wanted for Christmas? Not what you could do for everyone. What you wanted. I opened my mouth to answer. Nothing came out. I scrolled through years of memory and came up empty. That's your answer, Megan said. The apartment was quiet. The radiator clanged. And on my phone screen, the booking still glowed. Confirmed. Outer Banks, December 23rd, 2 passengers. To understand why I almost canceled that ticket, you need to understand how this started. Not with a single moment, but with a pattern. One that took root so quietly I mistook it for normal. 4 Christmases ago. I was 23, fresh out of nursing school, working my first real job at Millbrook Family Health. Karen had just had Lily, 7 pounds, 2 ounces, colic that could wake the neighbors. She and Brad were running on fumes. Mom pulled me aside on Christmas Eve. She had that soft voice she uses when she's already decided something but wants you to think it's your idea. Honey, Karen needs a break. You're so good with kids. Can you just watch Lily for a few hours on Christmas Day so we can all enjoy dinner? A few hours? That's what she said. I still have the text message in my phone from that morning. Just a few hours, honey. You're the best. A few hours turned into the whole day. Lily screamed through lunch, screamed through dinner. I walked her up and down the hallway while everyone else sat around the table pulling crackers and passing the gravy. At 10 p.m., I ate leftover turkey alone in the kitchen. Cold plate, quiet house. Everyone had gone to bed or gone home. I washed my plate. I wiped down the counter. I drove home. The next morning, Karen called. Did Lily sleep through the night after you left? She didn't ask if I'd slept. She didn't ask if I'd eaten. She didn't say thank you, and I didn't think anything of it. Not then. I told myself Karen was exhausted, that Mom needed help, that this was what good daughters do. I believed it. That was year 1. The mold had been poured, and I didn't even notice. Year 2, the roster doubled. Karen had Ethan by then, a newborn who only slept in 20-minute bursts. Derek and Tina had the twins, Mason and Harper, barely 4 months old. Christmas at Mom's house now meant 4 children under 3, and 1 babysitter. Mrs. Karen and Brad went to a spa day on the 24th. Just a few hours, Karen said. They came back at 9 p.m. Derek and Tina said they needed to run out for last-minute shopping. They vanished until dinner. Around 3 in the afternoon, I ran out of diapers. I texted Karen. She Venmo'd me $50 with a single emoji. A hugging face. No, thank you. No, I owe you one. Just $50 and a digital hug for a full day of managing 4 infants alone in a house that smelled like spit-up and gingerbread. Year 3 was worse. Karen was pregnant with Noah. She was on bed rest by Thanksgiving, so the Christmas setup started earlier. Mom called me the first week of December. We need you at the house by the 23rd. Karen can't do anything this year. I tried, I said. What if Karen and Derek each take a day? I'll take one day. They take the next. We rotate. Mom's answer was immediate. They have spouses to spend time with, Jessica. You'll understand when you have someone. That sentence landed like a slap wrapped in tissue paper. Soft delivery. Hard truth underneath. I was chosen because I was alone, not because I volunteered. That year, I canceled Christmas Eve plans with friends. I texted Megan at 11 p.m. from Mom's couch, surrounded by sleeping toddlers. Rain check again, family stuff. Megan's reply came fast. Jess, this is the 3rd year. 3 words. And I almost heard it. Almost. Year 4 broke something in me. Not loudly, not all at once. More like a hairline fracture you don't feel until the weight hits just right. 5 kids now. Lily was 6. Ethan was 4. The twins were 3. Baby Noah had just turned 1 and was cutting molars, which meant he screamed like the world was ending every 90 minutes. Karen and Brad flew to a resort in Shenandoah Valley. 3 days. Derek and Tina drove to Tina's parents. 2.5 days. Mom stayed at the house but spent most of her time cooking, hosting neighbors, and making the dining room look like a magazine spread. I was alone with 5 children for 3 days straight, sleeping in the kids' room on an air mattress that deflated by 2 a.m. On day 2, Noah spiked a fever, 102 degrees. I called Karen. No answer. She was at the spa. I called Mom, who was downstairs icing a cake. Just give him Tylenol. You're a nurse, Jessica. I loaded 5 children into my car and drove to urgent care. Noah in his car seat screaming. The twins buckled in behind me, kicking the back of my seat. Lily holding Ethan's hand, asking me if Noah was going to be okay. The copay was $180. I paid with my debit card. Nobody offered to pay me back. When Karen got home on the 26th, tan and rested, she asked, "Is Noah okay?" I said yes. She reached into her bag and pulled out a candle. "We brought you this from the gift shop." A $12 candle. For 3 days of solo childcare, a fever scare, and a $180 urgent care bill. I drove home that night and sat in my car in the apartment parking lot for 20 minutes. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I just felt something close quietly inside me. Like a door shutting, not slamming, just clicking shut the way a latch does when you finally let it go. That was the Christmas that changed something in me. Not anger, something quieter. The thing about being the reliable one is that people stop seeing you. They see what you do. They see the hands that fold the laundry and the car that shows up on time and the voice that says okay on the phone. But they stop seeing the person behind all of it. It wasn't just Christmas. Every time Mom needed a ride to the eye doctor, she called me, not Karen, who lived 15 minutes closer. Not Derek, who worked from home on Fridays. Me, because I was the flexible one. Every holiday, I was the one who drove over the day before to clean the house, set the table, arrange the guest towels. Karen showed up with a store-bought pie and a smile. Derek showed up with nothing and nobody questioned it. Mom introduced me to neighbors the same way every time. This is my youngest. She's always so helpful. Not, she's a registered nurse. Not, she just got promoted. Just helpful. Like a household appliance with a name. And when I graduated from my RN program, cap, gown, the whole thing, not one of them came. Mom had a migraine. Karen said Lily had a playdate. Derek said he forgot the date. Megan was the only person there. She brought flowers and took a photo of me holding my diploma in the parking lot. I still have it. It's the only graduation picture I own. That night, I opened the family group chat. Mercer family. And scrolled. 3 years of messages. Nearly every single one was either Mom assigning me a task or Karen forwarding a to-do list. Doctor appointment reminders, grocery runs, pickup times, babysitting instructions. Not one message in 3 years that said, "How are you, Jessica?" Not one. I used to tell myself they were just busy, but busy people still show up for the things that matter to them. I just wasn't one of those things. So here I was, late November, 4 Christmases deep in a pattern I'd finally named, and on my kitchen counter sat a notebook full of numbers that represented the first thing I'd ever saved for that was just for me. $2,340, 6 months of overtime, 6 months of packing lunches, 6 months of saying no, I'll make coffee at home every single morning. I could recite the math in my sleep. 4 extra night shifts a month at time and a half, minus what I put toward rent, minus groceries, and whatever was left went into the envelope I kept in my sock drawer. Megan and I had planned this trip down to the hour, an Airbnb 2 blocks from the beach, a seafood shack she'd read about online, a sunrise walk on the first morning, rocking chairs on the porch. I hadn't seen the ocean since I was 15. Then my phone buzzed. Group chat. Mom. Jessica, I'm forwarding Karen's list. The kids' schedule is the same as last year. Don't forget Noah's eardrops. Same as last year. Like it was already done. Like I had already said yes. Like the notebook and the overtime and the 6 months of going without didn't exist. Because to her, they didn't. I stared at that message for a long time. 6 months of extra shifts for a trip she didn't even bother to ask about before canceling it in her head. I wonder, if you were sitting where I was, holding that phone, what would you have felt? Have you ever saved for something that was finally, truly yours, and then watched someone treat it like it was nothing? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. I put the phone face down on the table. The screen went dark. For the first time in 4 years, I didn't type okay. 2 days later, Megan and I sat in a booth at Hal's Diner off Route 15 after a 12-hour shift. The kind of tired where the fluorescent lights feel personal. I had a sweet tea. She had a basket of fries she wasn't touching. So, what are you going to do? She said. I turned my straw in circles. I haven't replied to the group chat. I know. That's not what I asked. I looked at her. If I go to the beach, my mom will lose it. Your mom is going to lose it no matter what you do that isn't exactly what she planned. Megan dipped a fry and pointed it at me. Do you actually want to cancel the trip? No. Then don't. It's not that simple. It is that simple. You just don't want it to be, because simple means dealing with the fallout. She set the fry down. Jess, your mom's been mad every time you've wanted anything for yourself. You went to nursing school and she said it was a phase. You moved into your own apartment and she called it a waste of money. Her being upset is not the measuring stick for whether you're doing the right thing. I didn't answer. She was right, and I hated it. What if they never forgive me? I said. Megan leaned back in the booth. What if you never forgive yourself for missing another Christmas of your own? The diner hummed around us, plates clattering, the cook yelling an order number, a couple laughing by the register. I picked up my tea and took a long sip. I'm going, I said. I'm not canceling. Megan smiled. Just barely. Like she'd been waiting a long time to hear me say it. The only question now was whether I'd tell my family before I left, or let them find out on their own. The call came on a Wednesday evening. I was rinsing dishes in my apartment when my phone lit up with a name I didn't expect. Aunt Pauline Hayes, my mother's younger sister, retired teacher. Lived alone in Keswick, 40 minutes south. She showed up to family events maybe twice a year, smiled politely, and left early. Most of the family thought she was just private. I'd always sensed it was something more. Jessica, I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. No, Aunt Pauline. What's going on? She paused. I saw the group chat. Your mother posted that schedule and tagged you like you're the hired help. I just wanted to check. Are you okay? I almost dropped the plate I was holding. I'd forgotten Pauline was in the group chat. She never posted, never reacted. I assumed she'd muted it years ago. She hadn't. I'm okay, I said. I'm just figuring things out. I know what that means. Her voice softened. When I was your age, Linda made me organize every family reunion. Invitations, food, cleanup, all of it. I did it for 8 years. Not once did anyone offer to help. And when I finally stopped, your mother told the entire family I was the selfish one. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Sound familiar? My throat tightened. What did you do? I stopped showing up until they treated me like a guest, not the staff. Took about 2 years. But they came around. I was quiet. She let me be. Whatever you decide, sweetheart, I just want you to know, choosing yourself is not the same as abandoning your family. I whispered a thank you that probably didn't sound like enough. Then, just before she hung up, Pauline added something that changed everything. And Jess, I've been reading that group chat for 3 years. I've seen every message your mother sent about you. You should know that. The line went quiet. My kitchen felt very still. After Pauline hung up, I sat on my couch with the phone in my lap and opened the group chat. I'd read these messages before. Hundreds of them, over 3 years. But I'd always read them the way you read road signs on your daily commute. Background noise, routine, expected. This time, I scrolled with different eyes. Last Christmas, December 24th, 3:14 p.m. I was at urgent care with Noah, 5 kids in tow, and there was my mother, texting Karen in the same group I was in, as if I wouldn't see it. She's fine. She likes feeling needed. It gives her something to do. Karen's reply, 2 minutes later. Loyal, true. Better than her sitting alone in that little apartment. I kept scrolling. 2 years ago, the week after I'd suggested rotating babysitting duty. Mom to Karen. I'll handle Jessica. She'll come around. She always does. And then the most recent one, sent the night after Thanksgiving, less than 3 weeks ago. I'd gone home. I'd sat in my car with shaking hands. And while I was driving through the dark, my mother had typed this to Karen. Jessica doesn't have a real life anyway. She should be grateful we include her at all. I read it once. I read it twice. I read it a third time. Slowly. The way you reread a sentence that doesn't make sense until it suddenly makes too much sense. She should be grateful we include her at all. I set the phone down. I pressed my palms flat on my knees and breathed. I didn't screenshot anything. I didn't need to. Those messages were sitting in a group chat that every member of the family, including Aunt Pauline, could scroll through any time they wanted. I picked the phone back up and called Megan. 1 sentence. We're going, and I'm not telling anyone. The next 2 weeks were the strangest of my life. I went to work. I came home. I cooked dinner. I replied to texts from friends. And the whole time, I carried a secret that sat in my chest like a warm stone. The group chat kept pinging. Mom sent updates almost daily. Noah's nap schedule, Ethan's new food sensitivity, the brand of wipes Lily preferred. Every message was addressed to me, but none of them were really for me. They were instructions. Dispatches from a general to a soldier who hadn't been asked if she wanted to enlist. I read them all. I didn't reply to any of them. I just tapped seen and moved on. At home, I packed my bag slowly. 1 carry-on, sundresses, a swimsuit, sandals, a paperback I'd been meaning to read since the summer. I put my out-of-office on at the clinic. I confirmed the Airbnb. I checked the weather in Outer Banks. Mid-50s, sunny, light wind off the water. Not beach weather for most people. Perfect weather for me. 1 week before Christmas, Mom called. So you'll be at the house by noon on the 23rd, right? Karen's flight is at 3. She needs to leave by 1. I held the phone against my ear and looked at my suitcase sitting by the door. I'll let you know, Mom. Silence. What do you mean? Let you know? It's Christmas, Jessica. I'll let you know. I could hear her breathing. I could hear the gears turning. The recalculation, the irritation, the barely controlled need to say something sharp. But she didn't push it. Not yet. She thought she had time. She thought I'd come around. I always had before. I hung up, and the apartment went quiet. Just the radiator and the sound of my own breathing. Following through on my own plans felt like the most radical thing I'd ever done. December 21st, our last shift before the break. Megan and I ate lunch in the staff room at the clinic. Plastic chairs, a microwave that smelled like last week's soup, and a window that looked out at the parking lot where my car sat packed and ready. Are you nervous? Megan asked, peeling the lid off a yogurt. A little, I said. Not about the trip. About my phone on the 23rd. Turn it off. I can't. What if something's actually wrong with one of the kids? Megan thought about it. Then leave it on, but don't pick up unless it's a real emergency. You'll know the difference between panic and guilt trips. You've had enough practice. My phone buzzed on the table between us. Group chat. Mom had sent a photo. The house, fully decorated. Garland on the staircase. A wreath on the front door. A tree in the living room with mismatched ornaments the grandkids had made. Below the photo, her message. All ready for the family. Jessica, the kids' room is set up. I put the air mattress in there for you too. Megan leaned over my shoulder and read it. She looked at me. Air mattress. In the kids' room. Yeah. She set up a bed for you in the room with 5 children. Yeah. Not the guest room, not the couch. The kids' room, with the crying toddler and the twins who kick in their sleep. I said nothing. Megan sat back. You know what the Airbnb in Outer Banks has? What? King beds. She pointed her spoon at me. 2 of them. I laughed. It was the first real laugh I'd had in weeks, the kind that starts in your stomach and pushes everything else out of the way, even if just for a second. 2 days, 48 hours, and I'd be somewhere no one had assigned me to be. December 22nd, 9 p.m., the night before everything. My apartment was dark except for the lamp on the nightstand and the blue glow of my phone. The suitcase sat by the front door like a promise. Alarm set for 5:30. Flight at 8. I called Aunt Pauline. She picked up on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. Tomorrow? She asked. Tomorrow. Are you sure? I'm sure. I heard her exhale, slow and steady, the way someone breathes when they've been holding something in for a while. Good. I'll be watching the group chat. And if it gets ugly, you call me. Aunt Pauline? Yeah, sweetheart. Do you think I'm wrong? She didn't hesitate. Wrong for what? For having a life? A pause. Honey, the only wrong thing would be spending another Christmas being someone's free help while pretending it's love. I pressed my forehead against the window. The street outside was empty. A thin frost was forming on the windshields in the parking lot. Get some sleep, Pauline said, and take pictures of that beach for me. We hung up. At 9:47, my phone rang again. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was 22 seconds long. I played it once. Jessica, Karen's dropping the kids' bags off at my place tomorrow morning. Be here by noon. Don't be late. No, please. No question mark. Just an order. Delivered in the same tone she used to tell me to set the table when I was 12. I listened to it one more time. Then I deleted it. I lay down. Pulled the blanket up. Set my alarm. Closed my eyes. The wind scraped against the window. The radiator clanged once, then settled. Tomorrow morning I would be at the airport, and my family would be waiting at the door. 5:30 a.m. The alarm went off in the dark. I didn't hit snooze. I was already awake. I'd been lying there since 5, staring at the ceiling, listening to my own heartbeat, waiting for the guilt to come crawling in. It didn't. I showered, dressed. Jeans, a light sweater, my good boots. I looked at myself in the mirror over the bathroom sink and saw someone I almost didn't recognize. Not because I looked different, but because I looked ready. Megan pulled up at 6:15, headlights in the dark. I locked my apartment, wheeled my suitcase down the stairs, and loaded it into the trunk of her car. The morning air was sharp enough to sting. Ready? She said. Ready. We drove to the airport in the kind of quiet that doesn't need filling. The highway was mostly empty. A few trucks, a couple of early commuters. Christmas lights blinked from the houses along Route 29. At the airport, everything moved in a blur. Check-in, security, gate B7, 2 seats by the window. At 8 a.m., my phone lit up. Group chat. Mom. Good morning. Karen's dropping the kids at 10. See you at noon. An exclamation point. A smiley face. She had no idea. I read the message. Megan glanced at my screen but didn't say anything. She opened her book. I put the phone in my bag. At 8:20, they called our boarding group. I handed over my pass, walked down the jetway, and found my seat. Window side. The engines hummed. The cabin lights dimmed. And then we were moving. Rolling. Tilting. Lifting. I looked out the window as the ground got smaller. Somewhere down there, my mother was setting out juice boxes for 5 kids and saving me a spot on an air mattress. Above the clouds, it was nothing but sun. We landed just after 10. Outer Banks smelled like salt and pine, nothing like Virginia in December. The air was cool, but there was warmth underneath it, the kind that comes off the water when the sun's been on it all morning. Megan picked up the rental car. I turned my phone back on. 6 missed calls from Mom, 3 from Karen, 1 text from Derek. Hey, where are you? Mom's calling me. The group chat had gone from quiet to detonation. 11:58 a.m. Mom. Jessica, where are you? Karen's already gone. The kids are here. Call me. 12:03. Mom again. This is not funny. I'm calling you. 12:07. Mom. All caps. Jessica, answer your phone. I stared at the screen. Megan was loading our bags into the trunk and pretending not to watch me. At 12:12, Mom called again. I picked up. Jessica, where are you? Karen left an hour ago. The kids are... I'm not coming, Mom. 3 seconds of silence. I counted. I told you I had plans, I said. Merry Christmas. I hung up. My hands were steady. My voice had been steady. And the quiet afterward, standing in a parking lot in Outer Banks with the sound of seagulls overhead and sand blowing across the pavement, felt like the first honest silence I'd had in years. 12:20. The group chat erupted. Mom. She's not coming. She left. She left us with 5 children. Karen, from wherever her flight had taken her. What? This can't be happening. I can't cancel my flight. Derek. Wait, seriously? I locked my phone and slid it into my pocket. Megan opened the driver's side door and looked at me over the roof of the car. Beach? She said. Beach. The ocean was 7 minutes away. My family was 300 miles behind me. Karen didn't make it to the resort. I found out later through the group chat, which I read but didn't respond to, that she'd been at the gate when Mom's call came in. Her flight was boarding. Brad was already in his seat. And Mom was on the other end of the line with 5 kids screaming in the background saying, You need to come back. Jessica isn't coming. I can't do this alone. Karen called Brad from the gate. I can only imagine how that conversation went, because what showed up in the group chat was Karen's version, filtered through fury. I had to leave the airport. The resort was $1,200, non-refundable. The change fee on my ticket was $400. That's $1,600 gone because Jessica decided to take a vacation. Brad apparently didn't share her sympathy for Mom. Karen posted in the chat, Brad says this is our problem, not Jessica's. He says he told me this would happen. He literally said, You can't keep dumping your kids on your sister and expect her to say yes forever. I read that message 3 times. Brad, who I'd never heard say more than pass the rolls at Thanksgiving, had said that. Out loud. To Karen. By 2 p.m., Karen was back at Mom's house, bags still packed, mascara smudged, standing in the foyer with 5 children who wanted to know why Aunt Jess wasn't there. And that's when Karen asked the question nobody had thought to ask before. Mom, did Jessica actually say she would watch them? Silence. She didn't need to say it, Mom said. She always does it. Karen stared at her. Mom. That's not the same thing. 1 sentence, and in that sentence a crack appeared, thin, quiet, almost invisible, in the wall my mother had spent 4 years building. Derek had always been the quiet one, not quiet in a thoughtful way, quiet in a convenient way, the kind of quiet that lets you sit through 4 years of someone being used and never have to say the uncomfortable thing. But on December 23rd, his wife said it for him. Derek and Tina were 2 hours away at her parents' house when Mom called. I pieced this together from his messages in the chat. Mom wants us to come back, Derek posted. She says she can't handle the kids alone. Tina apparently took the phone. What came next wasn't from Derek. The tone was too direct, the punctuation too clean. Linda called and told Derek to drive back to help with the kids. We just got here. My parents cooked all day. We're not leaving. Then, 20 minutes later, Derek posted again. And this time, I could tell Tina was standing over his shoulder because he wrote something I'd never seen him write before. An actual opinion. Mom, I think we need to talk about this after Christmas. Jessica might have a point. Mom's reply was instant. A point? She abandoned this family on Christmas Eve. Derek didn't respond, but Tina did. Not in the group chat. She texted me privately. I didn't see it until later that night, sitting on the porch of the Airbnb with a blanket over my knees and the ocean a block away. Hey Jessica, it's Tina. I want you to know something. We pay our babysitter $20 an hour. You watched 5 kids for 3 days last Christmas. That's over $700 in free labor. And your mom called you selfish for stopping. I just want you to know, you're not the selfish one. I read it twice. Then I held the phone against my chest and listened to the waves. My mother has always been good at one thing above all else, controlling the story. She did it when Dad left. She did it when Pauline pulled away. And on the night of December 23rd, she did it again. I was sitting in a small seafood restaurant near the pier, sharing a plate of shrimp with Megan, when my phone started buzzing with numbers I hadn't seen in months. Uncle Ray, Aunt Donna, a cousin from Roanoke I hadn't spoken to since last Easter. Uncle Ray's text. Jessica, your mother says you walked out on the family? That doesn't sound like you. Call her. Aunt Donna. Honey, it's Christmas. Whatever happened, family comes first. A cousin I barely knew. Heard you ditched the kids? That's cold, Jess. Mom had called them. Every one of them. She'd gone down her contact list like a general rallying troops, and she'd told them her version. The one where I vanished without warning. Abandoned 5 helpless children, and ruined Christmas because I wanted a beach vacation. She left out the part where she never asked me. She left out 4 years of unpaid babysitting. She left out the air mattress and the urgent care bill and the group chat messages she thought nobody was reading. Megan watched me scrolling. What are you going to do? Nothing. Not tonight. I set my phone face down on the table and picked up a shrimp. My mother had spent 30 years building the story of who she was, the sacrificing mother, the selfless matriarch, and I'd spent 27 years being a supporting character in it. For the first time, I wasn't playing my part. And she couldn't handle that the show wasn't going the way she directed. But she forgot one thing. Aunt Pauline was in that group chat. And Pauline had been reading every word. At 10:14 p.m., a private message from Pauline. Your mother called Ray and Donna. She's telling everyone you abandoned the kids. I'm not going to sit here and watch her rewrite history. With your permission, I'd like to say something at the video call tomorrow. I replied in 4 seconds. Say whatever you need to say, Aunt Pauline. Just tell the truth. Christmas morning. I woke up to sunlight coming through white curtains and the sound of the ocean. Not an alarm. Not a child crying. Not my mother's voice calling from down the hall. Just waves. Slow, steady, unhurried waves. Megan was already up, padding around the kitchen in socks, making coffee in the little French press that came with the Airbnb. The cottage smelled like fresh grounds and sea air. I sat on the porch in a hoodie with my hands wrapped around a warm mug, and for a full 5 minutes I didn't look at my phone. It was the first Christmas morning in 4 years that I woke up without an alarm someone else set for me. 300 miles north, the other Christmas was happening. I know this because the group chat was still open, still running, still loud. 6:18 a.m. Hey, Linda. The kids are already up. Lily wants to open presents. I can barely keep up. 7:45. Karen. Mom, just let them open the gifts. I'll sort through later. 8:10. Karen again. Noah's crying again. Did you give him the eardrops? 8:30. Linda. I don't know where the eardrops are, Karen. By 9, Karen and Linda were arguing in all caps about who forgot to pack Noah's medication. Brad had texted Karen a single line that showed up in a screenshot she accidentally posted. This was supposed to be our vacation. The chaos I'd been managing alone for 4 years was now distributed among the people who'd created it, and they were drowning. Then, at 9:12, a private message from Derek. Hey, Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a good time wherever you are. A pause. Then a second message. I'm sorry I never said anything. I read it. I didn't reply. Not yet. but something in my chest loosened. Small, quiet, like a knot coming undone. Every Christmas at 3 p.m., the Mercer family does a video call. It's been tradition since Uncle Ray figured out Zoom during the pandemic. 15 people, 4 households, 1 hour of forced cheer and someone's kid knocking over the camera. I almost didn't join, but Megan looked at me and said, "You're still family, Jess. You just changed the terms." So at 3:02 I tapped in, the screen filled with faces. Uncle Ray and Aunt Donna in their den, a fire in the background. 2 cousins from Roanoke waving, Derek and Tina at her parents' kitchen table. Karen sitting on the couch at Mom's, eyes red, baby Noah on her lap. And Mom, front and center, Christmas sweater, lipstick on, camera angled just right. Even in crisis, she was staging the shot. Then my square appeared. Me, on a porch, in a t-shirt, with the ocean behind me. The reaction was immediate. "Oh, look who decided to show up," Mom said. "From a beach, no less." Uncle Ray cut in. "Linda, let it go. It's Christmas." "Let it go?" Mom's voice went sharp. "She left 5 children without a sitter. On Christmas Eve? Do you know what kind of person does that?" I didn't flinch. I'd had 24 hours to prepare for this. "Mom, you never asked me to babysit," I said. "You told me I was going to. I had plans. I told you I had plans. You ignored me." "Plans? A vacation? Over family? When was the last time anyone in this family asked me what I wanted for Christmas?" Nobody spoke. 2 seconds. 3. And then, from a small square in the bottom corner of the screen, Aunt Pauline unmuted herself. "Linda," she said, "I think it's time we talked about this honestly." Every face on that call went still. Pauline's camera was angled slightly upward. You could see the ceiling fan in her living room turning slowly behind her. She was wearing a gray cardigan, reading glasses pushed up on her forehead. Calm the way only someone who's been thinking about this for a long time can be calm. "Linda, I love you," she said. "You're my sister. But I've been watching what you do to Jessica for 4 years, and I watched you do the same thing to me for 8 years before that." Mom's face tightened. "Pauline, this is not about you." Uncle Ray's voice, firm. "Linda, let her finish." Pauline continued. "I'm in the family group chat. I've read every message, every schedule you sent Jessica without asking, every list Karen forwarded like Jessica was on payroll, and I've seen how you talk about her when you think she isn't paying attention. What are you talking about? Do you want me to read it, Linda?" Pauline's voice didn't waver. "Because I saved screenshots. Not because I was building a case. Because when I read those messages, I felt sick. And I wanted to remember what it looked like. So I'd never let it happen to anyone else in this family. Pauline, don't you dare." 3 weeks ago, after Thanksgiving, you wrote to Karen. The screen froze. Not technically. Nobody lost their connection. But every single square on that call went motionless. 15 people, 15 tiny rectangles of silence. Pauline paused. She was giving my mother one last chance to stop it herself. Mom said nothing. Watching that call from my porch in Outer Banks, I held my breath. Because I knew what was coming. I knew what those messages said. And in a few seconds, so would everyone else. And I wondered, have you ever had a moment where the truth you'd been afraid of was about to be said out loud by someone you didn't expect? What did that feel like? I'd genuinely love to know. Share it in the comments. Pauline adjusted her glasses, and she began to read. "Last Christmas," Pauline said, "December 24th, 3:14 p.m., while Jessica was driving 5 children to urgent care because Noah had 102 fever, you wrote this to Karen." She read it slowly, every word precise. "She's fine. She likes feeling needed. It gives her something to do." Nobody moved. Karen replied, and I quote, "LOL true, better than her sitting alone in that little apartment." On the screen, Karen closed her eyes. Pauline kept going. 2 years ago, after Jessica suggested rotating babysitting duty, you wrote to Karen, "I'll handle Jessica. She'll come around. She always does." Mom's mouth opened, but nothing came out. "And this one," Pauline said. Her voice dropped half a register. 3 weeks ago, the night after Thanksgiving, after your daughter told you she had plans, and you laughed in her face, you typed this. She held up her phone to the camera so everyone could see the screenshot. Then she read it aloud. Jessica doesn't have a real life anyway. She should be grateful we include her at all. Silence. Not the polite kind. Not the kind where someone's about to change the subject. The kind that presses in from every direction. Heavy. Total. Suffocating. 15 squares on a screen. No one typing. No one shifting. Somewhere in my mother's living room, the furnace clicked on. Through her microphone, I heard something I'd never forget. The soft, barely audible sound of snow falling against the window. 5 seconds. 10. The longest silence in the history of the Mercer family. Uncle Ray broke it. His voice was low, careful, like a man choosing every word on purpose. Linda, is that true? Did you write that? My mother's eyes were wet. Her mouth moved. It was taken out of context. And from the couch behind her, Karen said, Mom, I was in that chat. I read them too. They weren't out of context. What happened next was a masterclass in a person running out of weapons in real time. Mom tried guilt first. She always does. I raised those kids alone, she said, her voice cracking. After their father left. 18 years. No help. No breaks. And this is how you all repay me? By ganging up on me on Christmas Day? Aunt Donna, calm as glass. Linda, nobody is ganging up on you. But what Pauline just read? That's not how you talk about your own daughter. Mom pivoted. Gaslight. Second weapon. Jessica is being dramatic. She's always been the sensitive one. One vacation and suddenly the whole family is against me. Derek, who hadn't spoken up for me once in 4 years, unmuted himself. Mom, she's not being dramatic. His voice was halting, like a man unlearning silence in real time. She asked us to take turns 3 years ago. We all said no. I said nothing. That's on me. Mom stared at his square on the screen. Then she turned to Uncle Ray. Social pressure. Her last play. Ray, you're her uncle. Tell her she's wrong. Tell her family comes first. Uncle Ray didn't blink. Family does come first, Linda. That includes Jessica. And from what I'm hearing, she hasn't come first in a long time. That's when Mom started crying. But even through the tears, even through the shaking, I noticed what she did next. She turned her camera toward the living room, where 5 children sat on the carpet surrounded by wrapping paper. Look at them, she said. They're confused. They don't understand what's happening. This is what Jessica did to them. From somewhere behind the camera, Karen's voice. Tired, raw, done. Mom, stop. Jessica didn't do this. We did. The screen flickered. Karen had moved. And my mother sat alone in the frame, crying into the silence of her own making. I hadn't said a word during any of it. I'd watched from my little square on the screen, the ocean behind me, the wind in my hair, 15 faces staring at a truth that had been sitting in plain sight for years. I hadn't needed to say anything. The messages said it. Pauline said it. Even Karen said it. But now the call had gone quiet, and every rectangle on that screen was looking at me, waiting. So I spoke. Mom, I love you. I love this family. I kept my voice level, not angry, not shaking, just clear. But I spent 4 Christmases being your babysitter. I paid $180 for Noah's urgent care visit that no one reimbursed. I slept on an air mattress in the kids' room. I canceled plans, skipped holidays with friends, and worked extra shifts all year so I could afford one vacation. And you announced I'd be watching the kids without ever asking me. I paused. The wind caught my hair. The waves were there, behind me, steady and indifferent. You said I don't have a real life? I looked straight at the camera. But I do. It's just that none of you ever thought to look. Nobody spoke. I'm not angry, I said. I'm just done being the person who gives up her life so everyone else can enjoy theirs. If you want me at Christmas next year, I'll be there. As family, not as staff. The silence held for a long time. Then, from her small square in the corner, Pauline. Well said, sweetheart. Mom's voice, when it finally came, was small. Smaller than I'd ever heard it. I didn't know you felt that way. And I said the only thing left to say. You didn't ask. Uncle Ray was the one who wrapped it up. I think we all have some thinking to do, he said. The kind of sentence a man says when he knows the room needs an exit and nobody else will build one. One by one, the squares said their goodbyes. Quiet ones. Aunt Donna waved. The cousins from Roanoke murmured, "Merry Christmas," and clicked off fast. Derek gave a small nod before his screen went dark. Karen didn't say anything. She just looked at the camera for a second, then reached forward and ended the call. Mom turned off her camera without a word. I sat on the porch for a long time after the screen went black. The sun was dropping toward the waterline, turning the sky the color of copper and apricot. Somewhere down the block, someone was grilling. The smell of charcoal drifted up with the salt air. Megan came out with 2 mugs. Chamomile tea, because she knows I don't like coffee afternoon. She sat in the chair next to mine and didn't ask how it went. She'd heard most of it through the screen door. I waited for the guilt to hit. That familiar voice. The one that had whispered for 4 years. You should have just gone. It would have been easier. But it didn't come. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Space. Room to breathe. Like I'd been holding my breath for 4 Christmases and finally, slowly, completely exhaled. At 7 p.m., a text from Karen. Jess, I'm sorry about the candle comment. And the allergy list? And all of it. I should have said thank you. I should have said it years ago. I didn't reply. Not yet. I needed time. At 7:30, Pauline. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. I'm proud of you. I typed back. Merry Christmas, Aunt Pauline. Thank you for telling the truth. Then I put the phone away and listened to the ocean until the sky went dark. Megan and I flew back on the 27th. The Outer Banks airport was small and half empty, and we boarded a regional jet that smelled like recycled air and peanuts. I slept the whole way. First unbroken sleep I'd had in days. When I got back to my apartment, everything was exactly as I'd left it. Quiet, clean. The lamp on the nightstand still on from when I'd left in the dark 4 days earlier. Over the next week, the fallout arrived in pieces, like mail you know is coming but still flinch at when it lands. Karen lost $1,600, $1,200 on the non-refundable resort, $400 in flight change fees. She and Brad had what she later described as the worst fight we've had since the twins were born. Brad told her what he'd apparently been thinking for years, that relying on me every Christmas wasn't generosity, it was entitlement. By New Year's, they'd started looking for a professional babysitter, a paid one. Derek Venmo'd me $180 on December 29th. No note, no message, just the number, the exact amount of Noah's urgent care copay from last year. I stared at it for a while. It was the first time anyone in my family had acknowledged that Bill existed. Tina texted me separately. I told Derek he needs to step up. No more sitting on the sidelines. I'm sorry it took this long. Uncle Ray called me the day after New Year's. I'm glad you spoke up, Jessica. Your mother means well, but she's been so focused on keeping up appearances that she forgot to actually see you. And Mom? Mom didn't call. Not that week. Not a word. The woman who'd texted me daily about nap schedules and eardrops and allergy lists had gone completely, totally silent. That silence said more than 4 years of messages ever had. She called on January 3rd. 10 days of silence, and then her name on my screen at 2 in the afternoon, right when I got home from a shift. I almost let it ring, but I picked up, because the version of me that answers the phone for her mother isn't gone. She's just not the only version anymore. Jessica. Her voice was careful, rehearsed, like she'd practiced the opening line. I've been thinking, and I know I said things that weren't fair. I noticed she said, weren't fair. Not, were wrong. A small difference, but it told me everything about where she was. I need you to understand, she continued. After your father left, I had to hold everything together. By myself. No one helped me, and somewhere along the way, I got used to counting on you. Maybe too much. I understand that, Mom, but understanding why you did it doesn't mean it was okay. A long breath on the other end. Pauline read those messages in front of everyone, she said. And here it was. The real wound. Do you know how humiliated I felt? I closed my eyes. Mom, I know exactly how that feels, because that's how I felt every time you announced my plans in front of the family without asking me. Silence. The kind that sits between two people who love each other and have finally run out of ways to avoid the truth. I'm sorry, Jessica. Her voice cracked. I am. I should have asked. I should have seen what you were giving up. Thank you, Mom. That means a lot. I meant it. I also meant what came next. But things are going to be different now. I'll visit when I can. I'll help when I choose to. But I'm not the default babysitter anymore. A pause. Long enough that I heard the kitchen faucet dripping on her end. Okay, she said. Just that. Quiet. Uncertain. Not comfortable yet. But a door. Cracked open. Barely, from the other side. The first test came 2 weeks later. I drove to Mom's house for Sunday dinner. First time since Thanksgiving. I told myself I'd stay 2 hours. I set an actual timer on my phone. Not because I wanted to be rigid, but because I needed to prove to myself that I could leave on my own terms. The house looked the same. Christmas decorations still up because Mom always waits until mid-January. The porch swing. The black shutters. The wreath on the door. But something was different. When I walked in, the table was set for 2. Not 10. Not 5 kids and an air mattress. Just 2 place settings, 2 glasses of water, and the smell of chicken pot pie. My favorite. Not Lily's. Not Ethan's. Mine. Mom didn't say much. She moved around the kitchen a little slower than usual, a little quieter. She asked me about work. She asked about Megan. She didn't mention babysitting or the video call or the beach. We ate. We talked about small things. The neighbor's new dog, the ice on the roads, whether the diner on Route 15 had changed their menu. It was careful. Like 2 people relearning the shape of a conversation they'd been having wrong for years. I stayed an hour and 45 minutes. Then I stood up, kissed her on the cheek, and drove home. 2 days later, Karen called. Hey Jess, we're looking for a sitter for Valentine's weekend. Do you know anyone good? We're willing to pay this time. I gave her the name of a coworker from the clinic. Karen booked her. $20 an hour. No laminated list. Just a normal transaction between a parent and a professional. On my birthday in January, Derek texted the group chat. Happy birthday, Jess. Dinner on me this weekend? First time in 27 years anyone in that family offered to take me out instead of the other way around. I didn't burn any bridges. I just stopped crossing the ones that only went one way. It's February now. The snow outside my apartment window is starting to melt. Slow drips from the gutter, little rivers running down the parking lot toward the storm drain. Spring's not here yet, but you can feel it getting closer. On my fridge, there's a new photo. Me and Megan on the porch of that Airbnb in Outer Banks, coffee mugs raised, the ocean blurred and blue behind us. Next to it, a picture of me and Aunt Pauline from New Year's, her arm around my shoulder. Both of us laughing at something I can't remember now, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that I look happy, genuinely happy, not the performing kind. My mother and I aren't fixed. We may never be. She still slips sometimes, a comment about how it would be nice if you visited more, a pause on the phone that feels like a guilt trip loading, but she catches herself now. Or at least, she tries. And I've learned that trying, even clumsily, is more than I got for 27 years. For a long time, I thought love meant making yourself useful, that if I stopped helping, I'd stop mattering. But here's what I learned sitting on a porch in Outer Banks on Christmas morning while my family scrambled 300 miles away. The people who only value you when you're useful don't value you at all. And the ones who love you, really love you, will still be there when you stop performing. If you're the one in your family who always says yes, the one who cancels plans, covers the cost, watches the kids, sets the table and clears it, and nobody ever asks what you need, I just want you to know this. You're allowed to stop. Not because you don't love them, but because you love yourself enough to finally take up space. That's my story. If it reminded you of yours, I'd love to hear it in the comments. What would you have done? Boarded that plane or stayed? And if you've already drawn a line with your own family, how did it go? Every story down there helps someone else feel less alone. If this one meant something to you, hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps more people find these stories when they need them. And if you want another one just like this, check the link in the description. Trust me, that one hits just as hard. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself.